Hey guys, welcome back, and in this video we're going to walk through the daily ad reporting process. Now, it's been a couple days since I've launched the ads that we launched together, and so now it's time to actually go through and report on the performance and then start making our optimization decisions. Now, if this were a real campaign, normally I would be updating this every single day, but because I want to be able to illustrate that process in one video, I've waited a few days and we're just going to update all of the days in one video. So the first thing that you need to do to follow this process is to create your paid traffic reporting spreadsheet. And essentially all you're going to do that is you're just going to map out each step of your funnel and map each stage of your funnel to this spreadsheet. So you can see here I have clicks, I have leads or webinar registrants, and then I have sales because I have a pretty simple webinar funnel. If you are running traffic to, let's say, an e-commerce funnel, it would probably your headings would probably look something like clicks, and then you would have add to carts, and then you would have sales. And so, you map out your funnel. If you're having a lead gen funnel, it would probably be clicks, leads, and then sales. And so typically for most funnels, you're going to have 3, maybe 4 steps at any given stage. And then all you do is you just add in these cost per click, cost per lead, conversion rate columns so that you can sort of see your calculations as they occur. And so you can see here, I've got my ad spend column, my clicks column, my cost per click, my leads, cost per lead, sales, conversion rate, revenue, and then ROAS, which stands for return on ad spend. Now, if these equals divided by 0 errors bother you, because obviously there's no data in there, and if you divide something by 0, it returns an error because it's undefined. If this bothers you, what you can do is you can go up into the formula, and so you can see like cost per click, for example, is just total spend divided by number of clicks. Cost per leads is total spend divided by leads, and then conversion rate is simply the number of sales divided by the number of leads. And if this divided by 0 bothers you, you can just simply add in an equals if error. And so basically what that does is says if there's an error, if there's not an error, use this formula. If there is an error though, if you just put a space here and then end the parentheses, it will just leave it blank. And so basically that's telling Google that, hey, if there's an error, just return this blank so that it doesn't leave a weird formula like that. So we can just do that across all of the columns. And then obviously you can just click and drag to update any of those. And then at the bottom of the spreadsheet is just a summary of all of the data so that we can see our entire month at a glance. So we've got our spreadsheet set up, and I'll have a link to this document that you can then copy into your own Google Sheets and copy it for your own purposes and edit it to however you need to. But we have our spreadsheet set up. The next thing to do is to actually go into our Ads Manager and set up our reporting in the Ads Manager so that we're able to see the data that we want. So the default reporting view that Facebook gives you is this performance data view. And in my opinion, it's pretty worthless. And so the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to edit these columns so that we can actually see the data that we want to look for. And so all we're going to do to make reporting very simple is we're going to just make these columns the same that we have in our reporting. So what we're going to do to edit those, we're going to go into columns here, and we're going to click on Customize Columns. And you can see here's where you can search for all of the different possible columns. Then here's where you can actually build out your report. And so what I want to get rid of is pretty much all of these for now, except the campaign name. And so the first thing that we're going to want is to add the spend. So we can go cost or spent. I forget what Facebook calls it. Yep, amount spent. And then I also want to include the budget just so that makes that makes scaling easier, so I can get a sense for how much money is actually budgeted for the given day, but I have amount spent. And then what do we need? We need clicks. So we're just going to search for clicks, and now what we're going to choose is link clicks. I've tested this pretty extensively. Link clicks, it gives us the most accurate measurement. As far as I can tell, clicks is almost always over reports on the number of clicks, and essentially I think it's counting people who like click into chat, people who just click on the ad and don't actually click a link. And so link clicks correlates the most closely with the actual amount of traffic that goes to your landing page. And so always choose link clicks, and then cost per link click. And now we need leads, and remember for this webinar we are optimizing for webinar registrants. So let's search for webinar registrants, which is FBA FAO e.g. webinar registrant. And then we want our cost per FBA FAO e.g. webinar registrant. And then lastly, for reporting purposes, we want sales, and so that's going to be an FBA FAO enrollment, and cost per FBA FAO enrollment. And let's also, we don't have this on the columns, but it'll be interesting to know how many people actually visit the sales page. So let's say sales page view and order form view, and then cost per sales page and cost per order form. And you can click and drag to rearrange these, and so you can see now that my columns are, I'm going to have the total amount spent for the time frame that I select, the daily budget, the link clicks and the CPC, the cost per leads, and then I have some additional data around the number of enrollments as reported by Facebook, and the cost per enrollments, cost per sales page view, and that's just some other ancillary data. So now I'm going to go ahead and generally speaking, I leave the attribution windows as is. You can compare attribution windows. That's sort of beyond the scope of this. It basically just gives you another way to look at your data. Essentially, the attribution window says it's Facebook reporting on data, and it defines how Facebook attributes the actual data. So right now we have it on 28-day click, and so that means if someone clicks on, let's say, my retargeting ad, and then they click on a lookalike ad and then they enroll, assuming they enroll within 28 days of clicking on that first ad, the attribution will actually come from the first ad. And so you can change that attribution and compare various slices and cohorts of data that way. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and click on apply. And this gives me the columns that I'm looking for. Obviously, there's no data yet because this is the day before I launched ads. And then what I recommend you do is you go in and you click on save. And I would just name it something that you're going to remember, something like paid traffic daily reporting. And now you have this saved, and so every time you log in, you can just go down to your saved report and pull up your report all neat like that. So you've got your report set up. We've got our reporting KPI sheet set up, and now it's time to actually start reporting. So what I do every single day is I go in first thing in the morning and report on the previous day's results. And so we can start with Wednesday, June 6th. Go ahead and update that. You can see the amount that was actually spent was very little because ads were getting approved. But essentially, we're able to go in and report on what was spent. So we can see the total amount spent was $27.07. So I'll just put in $27.07. The total number of clicks we had was 3, which is a pretty terrible cost per click. And then for the total number of leads, now Facebook is not actually reporting any leads from this. Now, typically for leads and sales, I do not rely on Facebook's reporting, because in my experience, Facebook always over reports. And it's just not an accurate number. Like if people refresh a page multiple times, that can cause the pixel to fire multiple times. And so essentially the Facebook pixel tracking for the back end metrics as it relates to leads and conversions and revenue is typically not as it's never as accurate as if you can actually go into the back end of your system. And so what I will do is actually, for the reporting for the leads and the sales, I will actually go into the back end of my system and actually run a report for that day so that I know that the number that I'm getting is accurate. Again, this is Infusionsoft, but all systems have pretty similar reporting features. And so I'll actually pull a report. This is my webinar campaign. I'll actually pull a report on the 6th to see how many people came in through this tag application. And it turns out none of them did. So in this case, the Facebook Ads Manager was correct. So I'll go ahead and put in 0 leads, and obviously 0 sales, 0 revenue, which will make my return on ad spend 0%. So that is 6/7, or that's June 6th. So for June 7th, now we can go and let's fast forward to June 7th. You can see here now our ads are starting to pick up a little bit more steam. And so I can go in and say that we spent $53.72. Had 18 total clicks. Cost per click trending down, which is a good sign. And according to Facebook, we had 10 webinar registrants. According to my system, which is accurate, we had 12 actually. So in this case, Facebook actually underreported, which typically doesn't happen, but in this case we had 12 registrants here. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 12 leads. I'm going to go ahead and change the formatting of this to dollars. And that gives us a cost per lead of $4.48, which is great. And again, I know that we had no sales, which leaves us with a conversion rate of 0 and a revenue of also $0. And looks like I need to update this, so I'm just gonna make the total number of leads for the month, so equals sum just update those columns quick. Great, that's updated, and so we can see that that all looks good. And so now we can move on to 6/8. Spent $46.62. Had only 5 clicks. Cost per click jumped up quite a bit, and we only had 4 webinar registrants on 6/8. And so, and I know again that we had no sales and no revenue. And so what you're gonna see anytime you launch a new campaign is the first 3 days, the first full 3 days, you're gonna see some wildly varying results. And this is just basically the Facebook algorithm optimizing in action, and that's what you're witnessing. That's why we're seeing the dramatically different results here. And so that is also why after launching a campaign, I rarely, if ever, make any changes before 3 days are up, just because that's the amount of time that it takes for the Facebook algorithm to sort of figure out what type of audience is reacting to your ads and figure out who to optimize for. And it just takes a full 3 days for it to do that. And so we can look, obviously today is the 9th, so this is 3 days of data, and so now I feel confident enough to where I can go in and take a look at what ad sets have been performing well, what ad sets haven't, and start scaling the ones that have been performing well, and killing the ones that have not been performing that are outside of KPI. And I'll show you how to do that in the next video. But this is a daily process. If you're running traffic, you need to be monitoring these things on a daily basis. And so it takes 10 minutes. It doesn't take long at all, but it's incredibly important to do this on a daily basis, just because if you're not doing this on a daily basis, you're not paying attention to your numbers, which means that you're not going to know what's going on in your campaigns. You're not going to see if something is going wrong. Like, if once we get a campaign up to scale where the results are pretty consistent, if there's a day where there's a massive fluctuation in, for example, the cost per lead, that's going to tell me that there's something going on. And so I'm either going to need to take a look and see if, maybe that landing page is down, maybe the hosting on that site cut out for half the day or something, which would explain why the cost per lead went up so much, because obviously we're spending on ads. But if for a long period of time we're spending on ads, people are clicking and going to a landing page that doesn't exist, they can't opt in, which is going to cause our cost per lead to go up, because we're still spending the same amount of money, but people can't opt in. And so these reporting on these numbers on a daily basis is incredibly important, and it just gives you extreme insight and clarity into what's going on throughout the full length of your funnel, as long as you're consistent and disciplined in updating this on a daily basis. I really can't stress enough how important daily management and daily reporting is in your accounts. And so now that we have 3 days of data, obviously based on our KPI, our funnel KPIs that we've measured, which we'll go through again in the next video, but obviously based on that, these numbers are not within our KPI, and so we're gonna take a deep dive in the next video into our actual ad accounts and start killing ad sets and audiences that are not within KPIs, and scale up the ones that are within KPIs. So I'll see you in the next video.